Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a very fast knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Kershaw Launch 16, which I have already reviewed. It's already an awesome knife. On this channel, I have, given it so much praise. The one thing that bothered me, though, is that the original version had serrations. They had no non-serrated version. The community asked, and Kershaw said, yeah, and they did a version of it with no serrations, which makes this knife essentially perfect. This is a USA-made automatic knife with CPM M4 as the blade steel, and it has a beautiful profile, and is, in my opinion, Kershaw's best of their US launch line, and probably the best USA side opening automatic that you can get dollar for dollar. So since I've already reviewed it, you can expect that video to be the same, right? There's no point in me doing a 20-minute review, but I am going to go over this real quick, and I'm also going to link it down in the description so you guys can check it out if you want to. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to Kershaw for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. We're going to go ahead and speed through specs here real quick, just for anybody who doesn't know. The Launch 16 comes in at 8¼ inches and has a 3.5-inch blade with a 3.3-inch cutting edge. You can find custom scales for my size comparison knives down in the description listed under Original Goat and others. Up against the AD10 and the AD20.5. You can see here this is about right in the middle. Up against the PM2 and the Para 3, much closer to the size of the PM2. In fact, it's almost exactly the same overall size as the Spyderco PM2, just has way more blade, way more cutting edge. And then finally up against the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue, and the Hogue Deca. How's the action? It's just like I said in the original review, very good. The power on this thing is great. It's got a little bit more of a robust blade, and it's a little bit longer of a blade. So really, the firing power is great. The button is recessed, and it just feels good to fire. If you're a fan of switchblades and automatic knives, you're really going to like this. It's also, not quite as high tension as, like, say, the coil spring in the Microtech Stitch. So closing it with one hand is a little bit easier. And because it's a larger automatic knife, you have a bit more control over that if you like to do it that way. I would recommend you close it with two hands. It's just safer and smarter. Yeah, deploying it feels really, really good. Let's go ahead and do carry profile thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here this guy is really just about the same. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. It is larger than the Para 3 and almost exactly the same overall body size as the PM2. It's just nowhere near as tall. This knife carries beautifully though because it is fairly slender and compact in the closed position. Weight, it's not going to weigh anything different than the standard one, right? It's just green and doesn't have serrations, so we're looking at roughly a 4-ounce knife, which I don't think is bad. Taking apart an automatic knife can be a bit tricky because you're dealing with a coil spring, but it is absolutely possible. They've used T6 screws here. I'm not going to bother getting out my tools, but they are very recommendable and very inexpensive, so you can find them by checking out the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. And then they have a T8 for the pivot, T6 body screws, T6 body screws on both sides and T6 pocket clip screws. And the pocket clip can be mounted for either right or left-handed people. Left-handed people, you have to use your index finger, but at least you have the option for the pocket clip. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness, which is also going to be about the same as the original. I think it's a fairly thick blade that looks to be at least 145, perhaps even 150. Let's find out. Yep, in fact, it's more than that. It's 155 thousandths. That's okay. That's kind of what you expect for a knife of this size. So I love that we have that this knife exists, right? This is clearly a popular knife. I love all of the Launch series knives. I think they're all fantastic. I love that they're being made in the United States, right? Now, if you don't like a larger knife, because to most people this is going to be considered a larger knife, right? Unless you're like, I carry the Cold Steel 5 Max, and anything that's smaller than that is small. All right. Well, aside from that, like one guy who just wants everybody to know that he carries the 5 Max, this is generally going to be considered a larger knife. So, fortunately, Kershaw has smaller knives in their Launch line, and you can check those out. But to me, this is just about a perfect size of knife. They're not reinventing the wheel with the lines here. The lines are classic knife lines, and that's why it works. The jimping's in the right place. The pocket clip is short and definitely in the right place, so no hot spot there. The blade is just about perfect. Now, I don't like serrations. If you like serrations, you have the option. There's a version of this knife. The original version comes with serrations, so you just buy what you like. But I like a plain edge. So that's what is really great about this version of it. I think one of the only complaints that some people might still have, and I think this is a valid complaint. This knife is exclusive, or I'm sorry, the blade shape here. The only blade shape you can get with this knife is tanto, whether you choose serrated or non-serrated. Now, this knife is popular enough that Kershaw may consider making different blade shapes for it. I don't know. I don't know that they have done that in the past with different Launch Series knives. Generally, they just make a different launch knife. But this knife, I think a couple of things should be considered. Number one, you got black and you got green, Anno. I think you should consider doing a bunch of different colors with this knife. They have definitely done that in the past where we've had certain Launch Series knives that are red and blue and green and all the whatever different colors you want, right? I think that this knife is going to be popular enough that the different colors would be a really good idea. Number two, obviously we need to keep the blade coated because it's M4. Now, it would be really cool to have a CPM 154 version of this knife. That's the stainless composition they generally like to use, and get a non-coated version and a stainless version of the blade. But it also would be really cool to have a traditional drop point blade for people who don't want to, have to sharpen the individual edges of the tanto. But if you like a tanto blade, and honestly, I think the tanto looks really good with this profile. And that's, this exact profile is what I'm always going to think of when I think of the Kershaw Launch 16. But as it sits in this non-serrated OD green and coated M4 tanto blade configuration, this is such an awesome knife. This is such a huge W for Kershaw, especially at the price, that it's coming in at, which is $150. Now, that's still a lot of money for a pocket knife, but if we're going to, talk about where this knife is competitive, I'm going to be real with you. This knife doesn't have competition, not direct competition. I mean, you can say ProTech, but are you getting full size in M4? No, not usually, right? And yeah, there are less expensive automatic knives, but they're not made in the United States. So when we're talking about direct competition, the Kershaw Launch knife the Launch line has always been its own thing. It's almost like just created their own little universe. And to have something that's this spectacular within that universe is really special. This is dollar for dollar, like not just a good buy, it's an excellent buy. And it's the reason that I have this on my best of 2023 video. It is. This is one of the most impressive knives of 2023. As somebody who likes to spend a lot of money on pocket knives, and when I say a lot, I mean I have knives in my collection that are individually worth over $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. I'm not trying to flex. What I'm saying is that the concept of utility, dollar for dollar, is not lost on me. I get really excited about this stuff, even as an extreme knife enthusiast and collector. Kershaw has had an excellent year. In fact, 2022 and parts of 2021 were great for them too. So it's nice to see this company rise up and do these things and to respond to the community in such a great way, because everybody wanted this same knife. Unless you just love serrations. If you love serrations, that's fine, right? But most people were like, make the same thing but without serrations, and they did. And unsurprisingly, it immediately sold out, right? Really good looking. I like the green here. I like that they did a different color for at least the first run of the non-serrated stuff. But guys, it won't surprise me at all if they do different colors, right? Lanyard hole. We got left-handed and right-handed positions for the pocket clip. Pocket clip is great. Wish it wasn't quite as pointy at the tip, but at least it's not super long. Track Tech inserts, I think, are fine. They definitely offer some grip, and this is a knife that is, while it's expensive, it's absolutely within a parameter, a price parameter, which, means that many people will carry and use this knife. And the Track Tech inserts will stay grippy even if you're working in wet conditions, and they're great with bare hands or gloves, right? Got the USA flag there because the vast majority of this knife is made in the United States. On this side, it just says CPM 154. This is an in-house design indicated by this logo right here. No blade play, up, down, left, or right. Easy release there. Nice recess button. Nice secure click into the closed position. And of course, perfect centering. Short and sweet today, guys. obviously this is recommendable. In my opinion, this is one of the best USA automatic knives money can buy. The quality's there, the value's there, the look is there, the utility's there. It's all there. This is sitting at like a 99%. All that's missing here is a choice of stainless steel for the blade. Not saying M4 or CPM 154 is better, but if we're gonna, I'm just gonna guess if they're gonna do a stainless version of it, they would do CPM 154. That's what they like to use with their autos. I think occasionally they do other things, but I would take CPM 154 for a non-coated stainless version. A non-tanto edge for those of us who don't like to sharpen tantos, and a choice of colors. I think take this model in particular to the max and offer as many different versions as you can, because it's just going to make everybody super happy. For those that have, looked at Microtech and ProTech and think there's just a little bit too far out of my, especially Microtech, it's a little outside of my comfort zone for an automatic knife, right? They look to Kershaw. And so if you have, as many different choices as you can possibly get for, not only, the rest of the line, but specifically, something as popular as this is, that's going to win so many people over. So I love this. I'm keeping it in my collection. Thank you to Kershaw for sending me a sample. I'm keeping it. I really appreciate that. Please. Oh, I'll link it. I'll link this down below. I have no idea if it's currently available, but if it isn't, rest assured it will come back in stock. So I'll link it in multiple places. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.